Happy New Year, everyone. It has been a great year for cinema, and to cap off 2023, I watched Sofia Coppola's latest film, Priscilla, and I cannot wait to talk about it with you all. So, let's get into it. Now, I have to say, I was quite surprised by this one. I haven't explored too much of Sofia Coppola's work before. I've only seen Lost in Translation and On the Rocks, and I don't mind her as a filmmaker. I think she does have a really decent eye for filmmaking and explores things from a very different perspective. You kind of get a lot more of feminine energy in her films, and I quite like having a different perspective like that. So this film felt like a really excellent companion piece to Elvis, which came out a year before, and while that celebrated the iconic figure, this more looks to explore Priscilla and her side of things, and after seeing this film, I have to say it was really interesting. Firstly, just straight off the bat, this was a far more delicate piece and a far more intimate look at Elvis and Priscilla than the Elvis movie did. I'm not going to make too many comparisons there, that's probably the last one I'll make. This film is just so gentle in its approach, yet so subtle and nuanced, and I actually really appreciated that. I really enjoyed my time with this film, and looking at the dynamics between Priscilla and Elvis and how this relationship began, which feels quite sickening, to be honest with you. This doesn't make Elvis to look like a very great person. It seems like in this film, he almost exploited her, took advantage of her, and groomed her. She was 14 when they were together, and that is a fact. That is what happened. And this film really looks at the kind of ways he almost took advantage of her and how she was kind of caught up in a very fairy tale romance at a young age. The film wants to explore that relationship, but also explore Priscilla becoming her own woman and finding independence. And I think that the way this film progresses and the way it was written was so delicate and intricate that it made all of the progression and thematic elements feel very cohesive and just very well handled. I would say the first real intricate detail here is the casting. This is some of the smartest casting that I've seen in a while. It is very purposeful to the narrative at play here. You have Kaylee Spaney as Priscilla, who is quite short, and then you have Jacob Elordi as Elvis, who is a very tall man. And it kind of shows the juxtaposition and the relationship at play here. Elvis is very domineering over Priscilla and controls every little element of her life so that he can still look good to the public and doesn't get into any controversy. This casting and this dynamic and complete opposite in height just fully illustrates that relationship and makes Jacob Elordi look very intimidating as Elvis to Priscilla. It's a very interesting choice that I think really plays out well, especially in the early segments of the film when Priscilla is quite young. And not only that, they're both excellent in their roles. Kaylee Spaney, fantastic as Priscilla. I wouldn't be upset if she got nominated for an Academy Award. It is such a subtle and nuanced performance that I really enjoyed. Jacob Elordi, similar thing. He is doing the voice and doing everything there, but there is once again a lot of subtle nuances here in the performance that I really enjoyed watching and was very engaging and made some of the acts that Elvis commits against Priscilla feel kind of vile because it's communicated so expertly. Another really intricate detail that I really enjoyed watching was through the screenplay. Sofia Coppola chooses what characters are talking more than others. It's very noticeable. Elvis is talking the majority of the film, while Priscilla is not, even if the film is named after her, and she's in the film for practically the entire runtime. But she's silenced, she's been made to be small and intimidated, and she doesn't have a voice. And the fact that they take that kind of literally, where she doesn't speak all that much, while Elvis is doing all the talking, was a very fascinating choice that I think was once again expertly handled from Sofia Coppola. You can tell that she's a veteran filmmaker. She completely understands what she's doing here. And just another detail that made this film all the more engaging and showed you the effect that this relationship is taking on Priscilla and taking away her independence as a woman. Technically, I think the film is pretty superb. I think it's shot pretty well. It's one of Sofia Coppola's best shot movies in terms of what I've seen. And the costume design, production design, all quite great, to be honest with you. And I really like the makeup and hairstyling, especially as Priscilla starts to get older and changes her look. And unlike most biopics, what this does is it feels so much more intimate and personal. It feels like I'm being let in on something, and I'm seeing something that I'm not really supposed to see. That's how personal it feels. Whereas if you watch just a regular biopic, it kind of feels like they're just checking boxes off a Wikipedia page where everyone can have that information. Priscilla, just once again, so personal that it kind of feels like you're intruding on something. And once again, that really is a credit to Sofia Coppola's excellent direction in this film. I don't have too many negatives here. I do think at times the film loses its ability to grip me kind of in the third act a bit. It kind of wants to go in a couple of different directions. It rushes through a couple of moments in Priscilla's life that could have been fleshed out more, but it is a pretty decent runtime. I probably wouldn't want it to be that much longer, but there are some moments that do feel a little bit unexplored. It's a real nitpick, to be honest with you, because overall I really enjoyed this a lot more than what I was expecting to. Overall, I do think this is a fantastic companion piece to Elvis because it's completely different tonally, it's exploring a different person, and you're seeing a completely different perspective that is so much more personal than that film. I do enjoy both, they do have their place, but this one I do prefer slightly more. I know I said I wasn't going to do too many Elvis comparisons, but I just needed to make that one more. As a score, I'm going to give Priscilla a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you're interested in that whole Priscilla and Elvis dynamic, and finding out a lot more details that you probably wouldn't have picked up on from anything else you've seen before. Anyway, those are my thoughts towards Priscilla. Let me know what you think about this film in the comments below. I'm hard at work on the second annual Eddy Awards. This was the last film I needed to watch, so all of the films are locked in. I'm hard at work on that now. Get prepared for that. January 10th. This looks like it's going to be my magnum opus. I've put so much heart and effort into this video already, and that's going to keep going over the next few days while I'm filming and just getting through all of that production. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.